Hi everybody. This is only my second or third time doing this, so bear with me. Anyway, I met my brother Freeman Menard through my friend Clint here. I actually met them both the same day, so it was quite a change in my life. I was already kind of down this path through health and spirituality and stuff, trying to kind of find out what was bugging me my whole life, you know, or you're angry or this and you're that, and it's like, well, there's something there that's really bugging me. I don't know what it is. So I tried the spiritual stuff, and there's lots of answers in there. I got lots of the pieces of the puzzle and the health stuff, and that was good too, but there was still something that was missing. So I met Clint and Rob, and started to hear what Rob had to say. I'd gone into the natural person stuff, and I'd listened to some other stuff, and I wanted to thank everybody who has come before us and paved a lot of this road for us, because they've been trudging through the muck for a long time. So a lot of honor to those people. So anyway, I met Rob, and he started to tell me some of the stuff that that he'd found out, and so I figured, well, I need to kind of prove this somehow, and I need to make it work for me. I got to see how this works. So looking at the whole thing, I was like, well, parking tickets are not criminal, and you can kind of see what's going to happen with parking tickets, and there's really no consequence other than money at the end of the day. So I started to get parking tickets, and I got a few parking tickets, and we initially responded by conditionally accepting, saying, we accept this, but in order for me to administrate this, I need a bill, and because according to their rules, they have the Bills of Exchange Act, and they have rules, and they're supposed to follow them. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm going to play the game and I'm going to be in here, and they want me to follow the rules, well, I'm going to hold them to it anyway. I can't be the only guy playing by the rules. So anyway, we got into these parking tickets. The first one they gave me, I can't remember what they called it, but they let the first one go. They were like, we'll let that one go, kind of a thing. But I kept getting parking tickets, and they towed my car. And then one day I got pulled over. It was 11 o'clock at night, and the guy pulled me over, and I was with my wife and small child, and the guy pulls me over, and he says, or actually, he didn't even pull me over. I was pulled over the side of the road, dropping somebody off at the bus stop, and this cop drives by me, and then he stops and flicks on his cherries and backs up, and I'm sitting at the bus stop, and I'm like, what did I do? I'm not even moving here. So he comes up to the window and says whatever, and I'm like, what did I do? And he's like, I need to see some ID. Well, what did I do? Then he steps back, and he gets all puffy, and he's like this, and he says, I need to see some ID. And so this is all kind of new to me, and I'm not really going to push it. My wife and child are in the car, and so I'm like, all right. So I pull out my driver's license, and I give it to him, and he's like, I'm going to have to ask you to step out of the car, and we go through the whole rigmarole, and so I'm like, what's going on? Well, you got some outstanding parking tickets. And I'm like, well, these aren't even criminal offenses. Why am I getting arrested? And you know where I live. So what's all this about? Well, whatever, we got to get you to sign this promise to appear and whatever. And I'm like, well, what if I don't sign it? What happens? And he says, well, then you go to jail. So my wife at the time is from the States, and she hadn't got her driver's license and all that stuff. So I'm like, well, I can't leave my child stranded at the side, and my wife stranded at the side of the road, so I'll sign the paper. So I sign it, and I sign it under duress, and that's fine. They let me go, and I go home. So anyway, that's that, and then so I have to go to court. I've got this court date. So we go into court, and Rob came with me, and he was acting as my agent. So we walk in the courtroom, and the prosecutor stands up when she hears Rob say his name. We don't want Mr. Menard in here. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. So this goes on for like a year and a half. 9 months of the time, she's trying to get Rob to not be my agent. So then we ask a constitutional question. One of the questions in it was basically, can a cop use a child as ransom to get assigned security interest? And we thought it was a pretty straightforward question. I mean, what's the answer to that? Obviously, they can't do that. But anyway, so we got no reply, or we got a reply actually, and that's in the book. We got a reply from one of the attorney generals or somebody, and so saying that we're not going to come and do anything with this. So as it turns out, we end up going to provincial court because we were in traffic court in front of a JP. You go to provincial court for a constitutional question. So we get in front of the judge, and right away the prosecutor stands up. We're not letting Mr. Menard be we don't want him to be the agent. We don't want to talk to him. We don't want him in the courtroom. And then she said, the JP from the other court said that he wasn't allowed to be a lawyer. He was doing all this stuff, and she's lying. She lied right to the court. And I turned to Rob and I said, am I allowed to do that? And he's like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. So anyway, that was the provincial court, and they end up adjourning that, and we have to come back a little while later. So that was another interesting story in of itself, and that'll be in a book that we're working on. But so eventually we go back, and I now have done all my freeman stuff. I've sent in my notice of understanding because I've learned a few things, obviously, in this thing. One, they don't follow their own rules. They want me to follow these rules, and they use all these words and stuff against me. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to play this game. And then I've also learned, obviously, that these words, I can't understand these words. These are words written in another language. You have to be a lawyer to understand them. I can't understand them. How can I, in any conscience whatsoever, be bound by something I can't understand? And secondly, there are thousands of pages of documents and stuff, and it's like, well, how easy is this? This was made for us, and it's supposed to help us, and it's ours, and we made it so we can't even understand it. So anyway, Rob's going to talk about the whole lawyers and all that stuff later on, but I can't understand it. There's no way that I can understand it unless I'm a member of the bar, so I'm not going to be bound by it. And so we go into court, and I go in as a free man. I've done all my stuff. Rob walks in. The judge right away says, we can't hear you. So then we go outside with the prosecutor, and she says, she says, are you going to come in? I said, well, what's your name? I need your bar card. I need this information. And are you claiming that I'm the accused or the charged party or whatever we said? And she wouldn't say anything. She just laughs, and she walks back into the courtroom. And so we get into the courtroom, and they start their trial, an ex parte trial, while I'm sitting in there. And they're not pointing to me as the accused party. So I'm thinking, great. They're not. I'm in the courtroom. They're looking for a guy named Christy Robert Scott, and they're going through the thing, and they're not looking at me. So I'm not the guy they want. So this is part of this is how I won. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk. When they said they don't want to talk to